So the film starts and we are shown a scientist and his daughter Wei. There is a strange mark on the face of both of them which was reducing their beauty. This scientist had made a lab at his house and he was experimenting for a long time. Wei was making a picture of a flower at this time which is called a crop flower. Her dad tells her about this flower that it has a lot of healing power, and it is grown once in a while in the middle of the jungle. The scientist tells that he has used this flower in his experiment many times. After a long time, the scientist succeeds in making a serum with which he could hide the mark of his mouth. He had made a serum which could mix the tissues of two things. He now cuts a piece of skin and puts a chemical on it and sticks it on his face. As soon as it is applied on the face, that piece of skin starts growing. Its tissues start generating and the skin slowly grows. It also starts covering his mouth with its wounds. Seeing this, he gets very scared. He didn't want what was happening. He just wanted to finish the mark of his mouth, but this piece of skin covered his whole mouth. Scared, the scientist cut the place of his lips. He cut that skin. But despite that, that skin was connected again. His skin was spreading everywhere on his eyes and nose. Again and again, he was spreading it on his lips and eyes. He was cutting on his lips. Seeing all this, he was very scared. After all, he was not afraid of his dad. He stabbed a knife in the body of his dad and killed him. Due to this accident, he breaks. He had killed his dad and now he had no one. Time passes and she keeps studying. She was very good in her studies like her dad. And because of this, she got a scholarship in a big university in the U.S. And she left her hometown and went to the U.S. In the U.S., she was going to live with her aunt. Her daughter was also Angie. And Angie was not happy to come to her because she had to share her room. Anyway, she goes to the room and makes a small temple in which her dad's picture is kept. It is known that she considered her dad as God, and she used to worship him. After a while, we see some notes and things of her dad near her, and we come to know that she is still doing that experiment, because of which her dad was killed. The next day was the first day of her university. While going to the university, she meets a man on the way who was homeless and used to sit here. His face was very messed up. Wei kept looking at him for a few seconds. This man helped Wei in telling him the way to the university, after which Wei left from there. After coming to the class, the professor proudly introduces Wei with the whole class, because Wei scored 100% in the entry test, and this was the first time in years. After the end of the class, Wei learns her science, and she tries to take some things from here. While doing this, the professor looks at her and asks her, "What are you doing here?" Wei tells her that I have to do some experiments, for which I want to take some things from here. The professor says to her that it is not allowed to take things from here, but yes, if you become my lab assistant, then you will be able to use the things here. Wei tells the professor that my dad was also a scientist, and I have to continue their research. In his hand, the research is going on. There was also a research diary, which the professor started to see now. And seeing this, he was very surprised. After going to Wei, he searched about Wei's dad, and he came to know that Wei's dad was really a genius scientist. But because of not getting the funding, he could not work fully on any of his experiments. On the other hand, it is shown that Wei's cousin Angie's two friends have come to his house. They start to steal Wei's things here. And during this time, some tools filled with blood, weird and poor things related to experiments, and scary experiment pictures are seen. Seeing this, all three of them get scared. Anyway, it is the next day, and we see that Angie was still sitting with her friends. Wei felt very good to see them. Wei also wanted to make friends like this. That is why she went to them and made friends with her. And she offered them lunch. Because of Wei's face mark, these people used to come to Wei. They did not want to go. But still, they agreed to go to the restaurant. But when they went there and saw Wei eating strangely, then they left Wei alone at the restaurant and ran away. Wei packed all the food and came outside and gave it to that homeless man whose face was bad. Here she also talks to that homeless man. Because today she was very sad, she says to that homeless man, "There is a mark on my face which makes me very ugly." So the homeless man says to her, "It is not like that. You are as beautiful as you are." After talking to him, Wei felt something good. Now he was going home. On the way, he met his professor, who gave him a lift. He had written a proposal for him. He says to him, "I will help you to complete this research," for which the professor needed Wei's permission, because it was the research of Wei's father. Wei happily agreed, because the professor was the first person who was helping him. From the next day, these people start working on that experiment. Despite the hard work of many days, their experiment does not work. All their hard work was going to waste. They were not getting the results of their will. With this, the professor gets frustrated and decides to stop this experiment, today when she was sad. At this time, NG's friend Alice came here. She also came to apply for lab assistant. And the professor accepted her request. She goes home with NG. And on the way, she apologizes to NG for the past days. And she also befriends with him. At this time, Alice had a poster, in which there was a picture of the same flower. The flower which her father used to use in the experiment. The flower which her father used to use in the experiment. Seeing this, Wei's mind was filled with a lot of confusion. She came to know that this flower has been applied in an exhibition. Reading this, she remembered her father's words, that it was very important to have that flower for their experiment. So she decided that she will hustle this flower. At night, she quietly goes to that nearby farmhouse, and she steals that flower from the exhibition. She steals the flower and brings it to the science lab, and there she starts her experiment. In the science lab, the professor and Alice were already hidden, which Wei didn't notice in the excitement of her experiment. She took extract from that flower, and she added it in her experiment. After that, she cut the skin of her feet, and by cutting it into 2 pieces, she applied that serum on it. And surprisingly, that serum also joined the 2 pieces of skin together. Now from where she removed her skin, she applies the same serum there, and she puts the same piece of her skin there. While looking at it, the skin became white. When she looks at it, the skin is generated again. That is, the skin starts to form again there. The professor is surprised by the window and keeps watching all this. He immediately sends Alice from here, and then he comes to Wei and asks her, "What are you doing?" Wei explains to the professor how that flower serum had succeeded in their experiment. Now their experiment was working. When she was showing the skin of her feet to the professor, at that time, Alice started getting jealous of them, thinking something was wrong. And she also took Wei's strange and poor pictures. After that, she came and scolded Wei, and she took Wei away from here. Wei was suddenly scared of Alice's coming like this. In fear, she left her notebook in the same lab. Seeing this, the professor was very happy. Alice had also sent that photo to Wei's cousin Angie so far. While here, the professor was trying to translate Wei's father's diary into English. Angie was very angry when she saw these pictures. And in anger, she broke many things to reduce Wei. When Wei came into the room and saw this condition of the room, she was very sad. And then suddenly Angie came from behind and attacked Wei. Wei was trying to save herself, but Angie was trying to kill Wei with all her strength. In this way, Wei picks up the pen and tries to remove Angie from herself. Then that pen stabs in Angie's neck. It gets stuck in her neck, and that's where Angie dies. Although Wei has no way of killing her, but still, Angie dies. In fear, she takes Angie's body to the washroom. Now what does she do with this body? She started thinking strange things in her mind. She started cutting Angie's skin. After removing the skin of Angie's mouth, she injects her own serum on her mouth, and she applies the whole skin on her mouth. The tissues of Wei's face and Angie's skin are mixed together. The tissues of Wei's face and Angie's skin are mixed together, and Wei looks exactly like Angie. Until now, Angie's mother had gone somewhere. As soon as she returned home, she embraced Wei, thinking that she is Angie, and she started loving him. Wei found this good Wei. Now she didn't change herself in Wei. In the morning, she wore Angie's clothes and made Angie's outfit. She started enjoying Angie's life. When she went to the university, she first met Angie's boyfriend. The first time a boy came so close to her, Wei felt very good. Now she starts enjoying Angie's life with Angie's face, and she realizes that her life was very boring in Wei's body. Angie's good friend was also there, her boyfriend was there, her loving mother was there. She also goes on a date with Angie's boyfriend. When they were coming close to each other, suddenly the skin of Angie started coming off from Wei's face. Seeing this, the boy was terribly scared. It was so creepy. The boy was scared of all this, and started running back from Wei. While running back, he did not realize that there was a slope behind, from which he fell down. He fell down and died himself. When Wei was scared, she comes home. She starts looking for her father's notebook, because it could be the secret to applying skin permanently in the notebook. She does not get her father's notebook, because she was with the professor. But at this time, she had a little serum. She takes it out and injects it in her skin again. Angie's face is taken again. On the other hand, the professor is shown, who is now in search of that flower. Which flower could make that experiment successful? While looking for the flower. At this time, the professor receives a call from their translator, who was actually translating that notebook into English. He tells that this experiment is very dangerous. Doing this experiment can be risky. In those clear words, the professor was telling him to stop this experiment immediately. But the professor does not listen to him. Now Wei comes to the university to take her father's book. In the lab, she does not find her father's book anywhere, because that professor had given it to her translator. That is why she calls the professor. The professor tells her, "Yes, I have that book, but now you will not get it, because I will publish that experiment in my name." Hearing this, Wei got very angry, but she could not do anything, so she went from there quietly. As soon as she came out of the university, she sees Eve. She comes to know that Eve was also having an affair with the professor. Now the professor's anger. She thought of taking it out on Eve. As Angie, she invited Eve to the house, and Eve came. As soon as she came, Wei attacked her in anger. Eve was also worried, and to save herself, she reached the garden secretly. But Wei caught her here too, and by attacking her with a drill machine, she killed her. After killing Eve, she takes off Eve's skin and puts it on her mouth. Now she looked exactly like Eve. She made her hair like Eve, and the clothes also started to look exactly like Eve. Looking at her phone, she also copied Eve's style so that no one could recognize her. During all this, we see that the neighbor's dog was barking a lot after seeing all this. So the neighbors called the police, but when the police came home, they saw Eve in the towel and she left without saying anything. In the morning, when she goes to the university in the face of Eve, she feels very good. Because Eve was a very popular student, everyone is happy to see her. Now she goes to the professor's house in the face of Eve. She knew that she would get her dad's notebook from here. The professor also didn't know that she was in the face of Eve. That's why the professor gives her entry in the house. Eve finds her dad's notebook in the whole house, but she doesn't find it anywhere. She came back in it. At last, the two murders she had committed, she hid them first. She put Angie and Eve's body in the pool. And then she started checking Angie and Eve's mobile, where she found the picture of herself and the professor, through which Alice was trying to defame her. She took this picture against the professor, and she used it against the professor, and she emailed the authorities. When the authorities came to know that the professor is using girls for her benefit, then they immediately arrested the professor in the police. But the professor's authority was also very high. The next day, she left on bail and came home and started the same experiment, which was actually her dad's. After following step by step, she also made serum and tried to join two skin tissues. Surprisingly, due to that chemical, two skin tissues were joined. That means her experiment was also successful. On this success, the professor was not happy at all. Meanwhile, we see that Wei comes here. Actually, in the face of Eve, she comes here. Seeing this, the professor also gets more excited, and she makes him sit in her living room. And he goes to take some food for herself. Now she needs her notebook here. As he goes, she starts looking for her notebook, and she finds it in the cabin. She finds the serum which was made by the professor just now. As she takes the serum, she doesn't stop here, but she runs away. On her running, the professor got a little doubt. And when she opened her cabin and saw there was no serum made by him at night, Eve was at her home with her real face. Then Alice comes to her and tells her that both of her friends have disappeared in a strange way. She was very sad about this. Eve hugged her and supported her. Now Alice had to drink water, so when she opened the fridge, what did she see inside? That both of her friends' body parts were frozen in the fridge. Seeing this, she got scared and started screaming. Before anyone could hear her scream, she covers her face with a clay trap. She suffocates her and murders her. Now she didn't hide this murder. The doorbell of her house rang. The professor came outside. Seeing the lock open, he came inside the house. She was sitting in a strange way inside. When she saw the professor, she started laughing. The professor was also feeling strange, but when she congratulates the professor here, when their experiment is successful, the professor is also happy. But then Eve says in anger, "This was not your but my dad's experiment." The professor now ignores Eve's words and moves towards the fridge to take his serum. As soon as he opens the fridge, seeing the dead bodies there, he is also out of breath. It was very difficult to control that man. But Eve also showed cleverness here, and an unconscious injection, stopping in the professor's throat, made him unconscious. After a while, as soon as the professor came to his senses, he saw that Eve had removed the skin of his whole body. Seeing this, he started screaming loudly. Now Eve was applying the serum to the professor, and after that, she puts a piece of skin on the body of the professor. This skin starts to grow on its own, as in the beginning of the movie. Kim's dad is on the face of the scientist. Eve had put a straw in the professor's mouth at this time. Apart from the straw, that skin started spreading everywhere. Due to the skin, the professor's breath began to suffocate, and he was killed in a short time. Before he died, the screams he had made, the neighbor had heard them. So the neighbor informed the police again. Seeing the police coming, Eve got scared and ran away from the house because she knew that she would be caught now. The police also saw her running and ran after her to catch her. While running, she reached the homeless man, and she asks him for help. That homeless man used to think Eve well before, because Eve had always had a good attitude with him. That homeless man hides her in his bed at the behest of Eve, and the police couldn't find her. When Eve suddenly sat down, the serum that was with Eve had suddenly broken. Due to the breakage of that serum, the tissues of that homeless man and Eve's body, they start to merge together. Their bodies also start to fuse with each other, and they both turn into a strange monster. Eve couldn't do anything now. She became a monster and was sitting there. Then she saw her aunt, who had come there while searching for her daughter Angie. She couldn't tell her aunt about Angie, and this story ended here while showing this.